Donald Forrest Williams. Welcome to Produce Music at Home. Today we're going to talk about this. How you doing, everybody? How you doing? Checkity check. Oh, I got all kinds of stuff on me. Don't use a white towel when preparing for a black video. I mean, wearing black, you know. I'm making a video because I like to make videos. Just like when I used to record songs, I used to make songs just so I could record them because I like to play with gadgets, technology, microphones, mixing boards, speakers, amplifiers. I used to be the guy with all the gear. I'd make all the demos for Big Rec. We had a lot of fun together. A lot of fun together. Today we're going to be talking about this album and more specifically Inhale, the first track on it. We just wanted to go in, record like we did the first one, which we thought we were just going to be demos. They ended up being the record. Just go in with Matt DiMatteo, Chris Wardman, John Wynot, one of our guys in Canada, and just go into a studio, record it over a couple of weeks. Maybe we take some extra time this time. Maybe we take a month. But we were pretty quick in the studio and we knew the songs. We were well rehearsed. We played a ton on the road. So when we got in the studio, it was like I knew exactly what Ian was going to do with the guitar and how I wanted to accent that, feeding off of what other people do, which gets to one of the questions you guys sent me. Ryan Newton. It stands out to me that the drums play to the guitars. There's a beautiful interplay between them. The first two records have that, while the new stuff is too straightforward. So particularly in this song and your playing in general, is this a conscious decision, one that you make alone, or is it a group effort in getting the beat just right? I was listening to Ian, listening to Brian, listening to Dave. Dave and I were locked in, trying to fine tune our stuff before we got in the studio. We played it a ton on the road. We played it a ton in the rehearsal studios. We were playing with each other every single day. Even on the road, we were doing 4 hours a day. For the first record, we were out for 14 months straight, I think, with 3 weeks off, 3 separate weeks off, but that's it. We played all the time, so that when it came up to the second album, we had a ton of songs and we knew how we wanted to play them, and the stuff I was doing to play off of the guitars, as Ryan mentioned that he noticed, is stuff that's just over time, rehearsal, playing together as a group over and over and over again. That's a great question. Thanks, Ryan. So around 2000, there was a lot of stuff going on. Our record label, Atlantic, was owned by Time Warner. Time Warner merged with AOL, which was a huge internet provider, one of the bigger stocks and companies as far as what it was worth on paper in the stock market. And in the year 2000, there was a big .com boom. Anything that had to do with the internet was getting way overvalued as a company. So at the top of that bubble, the internet bubble, Time Warner and AOL decided to merge as equals. And they were not equals. Time Warner was a much bigger, older, stronger, more valuable company than AOL. And AOL actually ended up, of course, as you know, going away. It's known as the worst merger in history in the business world. That happened in 2000 while we were trying to make a record. A bunch of the AOL guys came in, displaced some of our people at Atlantic. We lost some of the momentum. Our record budget for the second album was $480,000, which is ridiculous. Nowadays, you can maybe get $30,000, $50,000 if you're lucky. What you do is you go into a nice room, which luckily I have. I do drums for other people. Go into a nice studio with a nice room and do the drums, and then everything else you do somewhere else these days. Because of the huge budget, the pressure and everything, the record company pushed us to use an A producer. So we ended up working with Dave Jordan. I loved the work he had done on Dirt by Alice in Chains. It was one of my favorite records. The Rooster and Wood. Worked with him at El Dorado in Burbank, California. Before we went in there, if you look at this is the 15 songs we had as of January 2000 going into the studio, or close to before we went in the studio. And then 1 year later, we were done with the record, and here's a unmastered, unsequenced version. But you'll see there's a lot of differences. There's a song called Surprised that is not on the final record. There's a song called Flesh that is not on the final record. End of the Film, which I know people have talked about, that ended up being one of the Thornley songs. They changed names. Ian typically goes back into songs that he hasn't finished that have a good part, and he'll match that good part up with something new or something from another song. He'll end up putting 2 songs together. So anyway, we had All My Fears, another song didn't make it. Ease My Mind made it. Never Happens Here at All, that didn't make it. West Virginia made it. No Fault made it. Your Heaven's Keeping Me Down, that didn't make it. Hold Your Breath, no. Rounder Than a Marble, no. All This and More at 11, which became some other song, and Ill Advised. But what you won't find on here is the stuff we didn't record at El Dorado. We didn't like what we came up with working with Dave Jordan. It was a cleaner, more produced sound. We were more used to a real gritty, distorted, heavily compressed sound from you'll hear on the first record. And in the second batch of stuff, we did it that way. We went into a studio with John Wynot and recorded it in the gritty way that we had done before, that we liked, that gives it a lot of character. We recorded the song Inhale, Knee Deep, and others. What other ones did we record outside of El Dorado? Yeah, the record company didn't like what we did at El Dorado either. They thought it was a complete failure. Inhale, Knee Deep, Pleasure and the Greed, oh my god, Broken Hands. Yeah, there's probably tapes of all these other songs somewhere. That would be interesting to hear. Talking about the styles of production between the El Dorado stuff. Example of the El Dorado stuff with Dave Jordan is Mistake. And somebody asked me, Mark Johnson said, if you were personally responsible for choosing the singles released off this record, which songs would you have chosen? Mistake and Inhale. Inhale was my, I thought it was just a slam dunk first single. My favorite song off the record is still my favorite song off the record, Mistake. So I wish that was released as a single. I think it would have done great. Nickelback covers it. So, oh yeah, back to the compression. Jeff Moyer noticed the compression. So compression is just, for those of you who don't have any recording experience or anything, compression is when you take like my voice or any kind of instrument, any sound that has really soft, quiet parts here and really loud parts up here, and squashes the loud parts softer and brings the softer parts up louder. It squashes the signal into something much more even. So the soft stuff comes up, the louder stuff gets squashed down, and it just makes an even sound. Gives it more detail. And then you've got like a million different compressors like that give it the different character and crunch and a certain sound. If you listen to When the Levee Breaks by Led Zeppelin, you'll hear Compex 760 on the drum sound. It's like ka, that, and it's a mixture of the actual, it's of course mostly John Bonham, his drums and where they recorded it, but the compressor adds a color to it, and we use those same compressors on two sets of PTMs that we used on drums in Loving Memory of. There's a couple right in front of the bass drum here, and there was a couple right on the wall in front of me, about 8-10 feet away, on a piece of plywood, and we compressed the crap out of those and give them that gritty, awesome sound that you get on that first record. And that's what we were missing in the second record when we went to El Dorado with Dave Jordan. He was more, nothing wrong with what he did. I mean, listen to everything he's done. Look up what he's recorded. He's an amazing producer. It didn't tickle our fancy. It didn't get us excited. We're so used to this like compressed, gritty sound that we just didn't feel like it sounded right to us. So we ended up going in with John Wynot, getting all these other songs, and we loved it, and the record company loved it. They actually told John, you saved us. You saved the record. Thank you. They thought Knee Deep was going to be like the biggest song of the year when we released it. Related question is, Jeff Moyer also asked, what was this record tracked on? The second record was tracked on to 2-inch tape and then bounced to Pro Tools. So it was bounced into a computer in Pro Tools and then fine-tuned there. And then it was mixed on a SSL 4K, 4000, mastered onto a Studer master tape. That information I got from my friend who worked with Dave Jordan on that record with us. And he actually sent me the samples that we used on that record. It's so cool. I'm like, do you have any of those any of the samples because Dave Jordan added samples. If you listen to Mistake, to the snare drum, you can really hear it. He added, in Pro Tools, you can take the real sound, then you can add a sample on it. So samples were used in the making of the El Dorado stuff. We didn't use it on the Inhale and Knee Deep and all that. All that stuff's just natural, but you got to hear this stuff. It's so cool. So here is the snare sample. Oh wait, yeah, I got to turn it up. You can recognize that. That's the snare sample we used. Here's one of the bass drums. Here's another bass drum we used. So you used 2 different bass drum samples. I totally recognize that snare. The bass drums were probably used to just reinforce it, but that snare, I can totally recognize that. Alright, so it was a crazy time. Oh yeah, also in 2000 and into the releasing of the record was 9/11. Oh, and remember Time Warner and AOL merged at the top of the bubble in 2000? Well, when we were making the record, the stock market completely crashed and Time Warner realized they made a huge mistake. And all the value of Time Warner AOL was basically cut in half, if not more. And people were getting laid off, and then 9/11 happened. It all ties in with why we didn't get much support in the States. It was bad timing. We did the video with Ulf. Ulf did the video for Inhale, and we picked him because we had only done one other video with someone else. The That Song video we did with someone else. And we liked working with Ulf because he had done The Oath and he had done Blown Wide Open. Someone asked me about doing video shoot. Matt Bo Wyatt, what was the hardest part of doing a video shoot like this where so much would be added in post? I didn't really know what the video was going to be. They didn't show us like, oh, well, there's going to be an airplane flying over you, or there's going to be this fake speaker that Ian's playing on. None of this we knew about. So it was easy. They used some other drums because my drums were probably too colorful for what they were going for. And I just sat there and set them up best I could. And then they have speakers playing at you pretty loudly so I can try to keep in time listening to the speaker. But I am actually playing to the song coming out of the speaker. And all I do is I just sit there and play to the song. And they give you some makeup and you sweat it off and they touch you up and you go back and you just play the song. Dan Moore, what is this song about? Literal inhale weed? I assume you guys were some had potheads back in the day. A metaphor or something else? Yeah, I was a pothead back then. The other guys were not. They smoked very, very occasionally. I was a pothead. I did take it literally, but you can also take it as a metaphor for anything. I mean, change your mind and inhale. Like, just go for it. Just do it. Try something new. I mean, I think that anything you attach to it works. I can't tell you exactly what Ian meant in the lyrics. He would have to answer that question, obviously. But to me, it was literal and also a metaphor for anything. Jonathan Lee, when Inhale was released as a single, what was the reaction with modern rock radio? Did the song do well in specific markets? I tried to get the hip station here in Atlanta to play it at the time, but got stonewalled. It did well in Canada. It didn't do anything in the I don't think it did anything in the States at all. It goes to the point, like, you tried to get the station to play it in Atlanta, but unfortunately, even though I think good music always rises to the top, you also get a lot of help from record companies. And, you know, back in the day, they had payola. They paid guys. They took them out to dinners. They gave them cars to play stuff. Disc jockeys could play whatever they wanted. That wasn't the case. They had playlists, but to get added to the playlist, the program director had to add you, and a lot of business, but a lot of it is Atlantic. If you had Atlantic behind you pushing it, you could do well. And we just didn't have that on the second record down in the States. Music had changed by then also. You had much heavier stuff coming out in the 2000s, early 2000s. By the time we got our ass in gear and got the record released, I think we had missed the boat. Eric Ernest, absolutely loved the use of 12-string guitar in this song, but the mix is muddy because of excessive distortion. What was the thinking behind putting so much heavy distortion in it? I think it goes back to just our style of recording with tons of grit, not a clean sound. We just love it, and it got us excited. We just really liked it. Jeff Moyer, I don't know if I answered this. Oh yeah, I did answer that. And he also wanted to know what the first record was tracked on. And I got Matt DiMatteo, who recorded the first record, to answer this via a video. So, Matt, what do you got?
A Big Wreck fan has a question about what In Loving Memory Of was recorded on. If you mean the console was an 8014 Neve that had 1066 EQs. The preamp is obviously built into the EQ. There were 16 of those on the left-hand side of the desk, and on the right-hand side there were 8 monitor returns, so that you could monitor 8 additional channels. I think it was originally made for either an 8-track or a 16-track machine originally. I'm going to guess 8-track with the monitoring and the subgrouping, because, you would blend a bunch of things together and then print it onto an 8-track. And the tape machine we used was a Studer A80 Mark IV, 24-track 2-inch. Here is a 24-track 2-inch tape, as you can see. This is Ampex 499, so that's pretty much what we recorded on. I think the same tape formula. It could have been 456 in the earlier sessions, but most likely it was 499, because this was pretty popular at the time. And it's a pretty fat tape. I'd say each tape weighs, it's like I can barely turn my wrist. So this is probably about, 15, 20 pounds maybe worth of tape. Yeah, and it kind of smells like... It smells a little bit like barf. It's very strange. Anyway, that's how we did it. We recorded Big Wreck onto barf tape. Enjoy.
A couple of other questions that aren't exactly on the subject of Inhale. Mark Johnson, out of the 3 videos released from the second record, which was the most fun or memorable for you, and why? The most memorable fun one was the...
Are you ladylike? No.
Because there was a ton of people there, and it was like a big party, and we just had a lot of fun. We drank lots of beer, and at the time I really enjoyed that. So that was the most fun. I remember I was just in a room full of people dancing, playing the drums, and people were making me smile, and it was fun. It was fun to hang out with the fans that got to be in that video. I don't know if I have anything. If I missed your question, I'm sorry. I'll get to it in another video. Right now, I'm selling that huge poster behind me. If you want to buy it, message me, and it'll go to a good cause. It'll help people that cannot afford to record music and get it out there to people and get started, which I think is really important. People just don't know what to do. They've never recorded a song. They got songs, they got talent. They're just not sure what to do, and I can help you with that. So until next time, thank you for watching, and Happy New Year.